Hey gang, today we're going to be removing the carburetor off of my 2005 Honda Metropolitan and tearing it down and thoroughly cleaning it in some Chem Dip. Berryman's Chem Dip solution for about 30 minutes or so, and seeing if we can get a smoother idle out of this and a little bit more pep. As far as I know, this has never been done. I bought it from the original owner when it had a little over, I think, 150 or 200 miles on it. And right now I've got, my wife has put, I'd say about 800 miles. It's got 1,040 miles on it right now, and it's a 2005, so I thought time to do a little bit of maintenance. And after watching a friend of mine's video on his Honda Metropolitan, I decided, you know, what the heck, that's a great idea. Go ahead and pull the carburetor, clean it out. It's been years since I've dealt with a carburetor, especially in type of moped or motorcycle, and wanted to follow up in my video. I highly recommend you watch his. Lord Vader, I'll post a link in the comments below, and take a look at that and use these videos to get familiar with it and try it out for yourself. You know, after a certain number of years, deposits, the gasoline can leave a residue that can clog up the jets and the float. But let's go ahead and take this off. I'll show you. I'm going to go ahead and disassemble everything and actually take the carburetor itself and various other parts, the needle jets, the main and the slow jet, and put those inside of the Berryman Chem Dip tool, or sorry, solution, and let it soak, and then we'll clean it off. But one thing, when you remove the throttle position sensor, which is this guy right over here, tilt this up a little bit, there we go, this guy right here, you'll have to reset your ECM, or I think Honda calls it an ECU, and I'll show you how to do that. We'll be removing that and the starter enrichment solenoid over here, along with some other parts. But first thing we want to do is go ahead and try to get as much stuff out of the way. We've got some coolant lines, a vacuum line, and your fuel line that you've got to remove. First thing I'm going to do is just pull this little tab back and get this wire out of my way. For the throttle position sensor, there's just a little clip right over here that you just push down, and this should pull right off. Yeah, let's say that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a flat blade screwdriver, and as I push on the clip, I'm just going to pry on the Molex connection to help it slide back. Like I said, this has probably never been done. I can't imagine the original owner doing this, since he had so few miles on it. And this thing's being a little bare. There we go. Just had to push this tab down far enough. So once that's done, I'm just going to tuck these up out of the way and move it completely out of my way. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing for the this vacuum hose here. Get that clip out of the way. And if you find that it won't pull off and this is kind of welded on there, you can take a pair of needle nose and just gently rock it back and forth, and that'll break any kind of weld you've got. And you can use the same needle nose and just pry the hose back. That should get it off. Once that's out, go ahead and move this out of the way. And now the next thing will be the starting enrichment valve, which has the same type of clip right over here, which I should be able to push, pull out. There we go. Okay, move that out of the way. Alright, now what we want to do is go ahead and loosen the hose clamp right here, Phillips head, and then you've got 2 additional hose clamps. I'm going to just try to loosen this one, because then the carburetor should be able to pull out once we release everything else. Okay, so I'm going to try this, just this first clamp. Put my finger under it because it seems like it wants to slide down. And I'm just going to get it. I'll show you the underside of it. See right there. I'm just going to keep going until it bottoms out. Not too far, because we have a little retention block that helps it tighten down, but just loose enough that it'll spread nicely and get over the barbs that we have on the outlet portion of the carburetor. Same thing over here on the air inlet. Some of these might be pretty tight, so especially if it's never been done, just be careful that you don't strip the heads. Once that one's pretty loose, yeah, should be good. Okay. Now what we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and undo the throttle cable. The way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go ahead and take these 2 nuts and loosen them up. And those are, these 2 nuts right here, are a 12mm. So what I'm going to do is right under here, let me get you a better view of this. Right here we got this little rubber stopper. I'm going to go ahead and pull that off. It just slides right off, just like that. Take a look at the threads that you have and just count those. Looks like I have 2, maybe 3 threads, so that way I can get it back in relatively the same distance so that there's not too much tension. Even after I do this, I'll have to adjust the idle, and I'll show you how to do that. Let's go ahead and loosen those. The carburetor will try to move on you. And once you break it loose, you can loosen it further, and it should have some play. Go ahead and take this one all the way off. You just loosen it off of there. And it will go past this guy. There we go. Now I can slide this out after I push the throttle back. You can slide this guy out and move it the line through the little brake, and now it's free. So from there, what we can do is take our throttle cable, route it up, and get this stuff out of your way. Once we route it up, it'll just slide right out. This little keeper there. There we go. Now we can move this to the side, out of our way. Alright, back up top. Right here is our fuel line. We'll save pulling that off for later. Next thing we want to do is tilt this guy. Should be able to get a little bit of play on him. Maybe not. I think we got some hoses over here. Yeah. I don't think it's going to give. Okay. Let me go ahead and set you back up. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and remove the air intake. And if that starts to give you a little bit of problems, you take a flathead and wedge it back there and just pull it off. Just push it out the way. It's flexible enough, it'll handle it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I should get a that should be good enough. Okay. Let's go ahead and I'm going to try to remove. I don't want to have to. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and, since I've got this this first clamp loosened, I'm going to go ahead and try to slide the carburetor off, which it should just slide that way. And if it fights you a little bit, you can get a little bit of help with a crowbar. Not too much, you don't want to go too crazy on it. Just be mindful of what you pry up against. Yeah, I'll take that back. I'm going to go ahead and loosen this one up too. Loosen them both off and see if I can take it off of the intake. Again, same thing, I'm going to run it out as far as I can. Okay. Just to make sure I don't lose that keeper in there. Now I'm going to try to wiggle this guy out. Now, without damaging it, that's the theory. And just slowly walk it off of there. There we go. Now it's off of the intake. That gives us plenty of room to rotate this to get to the coolant hoses on either side of the bottom of the carburetor and this fuel line. There's our fuel line, and there's one coolant hose. Now this clamp, let me get you, yeah. Alright, I'm gonna have to move the camera again. Alright. And that wire is smooth, going to be in your way. This clamp right here, I'm just going to take my needle nose, and this is a coolant line, so you'll have a little bit of coolant spill out. And go ahead and pinch that clamp, pull it all the way back, and then I should be able to just twist this guy off. There we go. So you just have a little bit of coolant seep out, and we've got on the opposite side the same thing. You see it right there. I'm going to take my clamp, just move it back. And we should be able to pull that back. Again, if it fights you, you can take your needle nose, just give it a twist, and then you can try to leverage it back. There we go. Thing holding us back is the fuel line, and the fuel line will leak a little bit, so definitely be ready to catch it. And usually you can just pull these little guys off. There we go. Okay, now our carburetor is free to lift out, and you're left with a big giant hole. Yeah, I got a little bit of fuel in there, some coolant, that's alright. Alright, let's take this over to the bench and disassemble it. Alright, here we go. I got it on the bench. One thing I should have mentioned was if you want, while the carburetor is still on the Metropolitan, you can drain the fuel that's out of the float tank here. And the way you do that is you just loosen this drain screw, and the fuel should, any fuel that's in here should come out of here. As I was bringing it back over here, it started to leak a little bit, so I took it over to my little gas tank and put some fuel in it, or sorry, drain the fuel into a little gas tank. You can also drain it back into your Metropolitan tank. Alright, so now that you've got the fuel drained out, some of the tools that you're going to want to need, hold on, before tools, I highly recommend replacing a couple of things in the carburetor. I could not find on some of the OEM Honda resale sites a complete rebuild kit, which I guess would consist of the jets, maybe the sensors, of course the O-rings, the float pin, stuff like that, but I wasn't too worried about the jets because I'll clean those. But what I did purchase was a new float bowl O-ring, a new float, a new float pin. The float and float pin come as one package, and the part number is right there. I don't know how well that's going to focus. It's 16013-GET-003. That comes with the float and float pin. And then for part number 16010, GET003, that has 3 gaskets in it. A new float bowl gasket, and then 2 O-ring gaskets, which are little bitty guys right there. One is for the drain screw, and then one is for the pilot screw. So once you get those, and I think I spent after shipping 15 or 16 bucks. Do some, sir. You know what? I'll post a link to the place that I bought it from. I think the float was the most expensive. That was like 7 or 8 bucks. The gasket set was 3 or 4 bucks, and shipping, of course, was 5 or 6 bucks. Ridiculous. But anyways, now that you've got this on your bench, you've got it drained, we're ready to disassemble it. So let's start with the bowl, the float bowl. It's pretty easy. There are 3, well, hold on. Look at me, I'm getting excited, getting ahead of myself. Tools you're going to need are probably 2 flathead screwdrivers. One flathead is specific to the float bowl drain screw. You want one that fits in there tight, because you don't want to strip that out. Maybe another flathead screwdriver. Probably, I'm guessing the jets inside of here probably use this since they'll be smaller. Phillips head screwdriver, something with a fat handle so you can get some torque, because some of these may be corroded on there. Utility knife, I might need to cut some of those O-rings off. And then I brought out my little pick set to help with the O-rings. And then basically, you know, pretty clean work surface to where you can lay out your parts. There shouldn't be too many of them, and just keep them in order. But let's go ahead and, oh sorry, you will need a pocket Phillips head screw to get the jet needle out. You know what? No, we'll leave the jet needle in. That's in this top portion, because you don't really have to unscrew the needle holder and drop it out to clean it. You can just clean the base of it. That'll be good enough. If you want it to be thorough, I'll go ahead and show it how to take it out. Alright, let's start taking this puppy apart. Let's go ahead and knock these 3 screws out. I typically just lay them in order the way I took them out. And this float bowl should pry off. If it doesn't, you can, right underneath here in the drain, don't go crazy with it, but you can take your flathead, kind of give you some leverage while you hold it down and kind of break it loose. And just pull it straight up. Yeah. If I can see some of that crud around there. The bowl itself's not too dirty. I'm happy to see that. I see some crap in there. But that O-ring is, or that gasket is pretty nasty. Here's the float itself. And that, you know, definitely yellow from you know, just all the years of gasoline and whatnot. And the float pin is right inside here. That's what this float rides on. So the way I'm going to get that out is I'm going to get my pointed pick and just push on it. It should come out the other side. Now I can grab a hold of it and pull it out. Since this is going to be replaced, I'm not too worried about keeping track of it. I'm going to go ahead and pull this old float out, and underneath it you have the float valve, which of course don't drop and don't lose. Just inspect the tip of it I don't think, my camera's not going to focus. Just inspect the tip, make sure it's not cut and damaged and whatnot. And that rides, this I want to keep track of, so I'll set over here. That rides right inside of there, inside of our little, what's that thing called? Float valve seat, maybe? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. Goes inside of there when the float, when it's low on, or hold on. As fuel comes in, the float goes up and allows fuel out. Okay, there we go. So, let's see, next thing. There's our jets right there. I believe this one is the main jet. This one will be the idle or slow jet. And then this guy, I think, I don't know what that would be. Maybe the primary jet? I don't know. I don't know, I'll have to look that up. If anybody knows what this third one is, leave it in the comments. Okay, now that we got this partially disassembled, well, no, let's go ahead and, sorry for jumping around. This is the first time I've been in a carburetor in 15 years. Let's go ahead and take the main and the slow jet out. For the slow jet, I'm going to use my thin slotted flathead. And these things are made of brass, so you want to be careful with them. Not too bad. I mean, we're still going to soak it and see if we can get some of that tarnish off, and then we'll blow air through here, make sure that the pathways are clear. So I'm going to set this guy over here by the float valve, and let's go ahead and take the main jet off. And I'm using the bigger blade so I can get in the whole cross-cut section there, just to alleviate from stripping this thing out. There we go. Okay. There's that guy. We'll also soak it and blow air through there to make sure it's clear. Alright, I don't think I think that is the actual needle jet down inside there. And I think it's pressed in. I don't think we can get that out. Oh, we can. It just takes a little persuasion. And that one looks a little cruddy. We'll definitely soak that and blow some air through it and make sure it's cleaned out. And what I did was used, this weird looking pick to get down inside there and then pull it up and out. And that one, when it sits down in there like that, the jet needle from the top, this guy up here, rides right inside of there. And we'll take the jet needle out here in a minute. Now we got the bottom part disassembled. Let's go up to the jet needle and the diaphragm. And this is typically what I usually clean when I notice rough starts or rough idles. But the last time I cleaned it, I noticed that it didn't help any, so I thought, well, what the heck. It's been long enough, might as well tear the carburetor apart. So what we want is our Phillips. And if y'all have seen my other videos, y'all remember that I stripped that bad boy out, and that caused some headache. Okay, set those aside, and this should come out. There's our cover. Doesn't look too dirty. Not too bad considering I've cleaned it. I'm going to set it over here to the side. And here's our valve spring. That looks okay. Here's our diaphragm. And here comes the jet needle, which is this guy right here. And it's got some pretty good play on it, so I'm not too worried about cleaning it. But if you did want to clean it, there's a little retainer, a little plastic piece in there that you need to have a Phillips head, pocket screwdriver. You get down there on the top of it and you twist counterclockwise, and it should pop loose. It should pop out. That might be the problem right there. That might be the problem. Looks a little bit stripped out. Don't lose that spring in there, because that's what pushes your jet needle down. But now that we have this out, I'll go ahead and put it in the pile of stuff to clean. And I'll set this guy aside. You don't want to lose that. You do not want to put this into your cleaning solution because it'll eat this diaphragm. So we'll leave that to the side. Alright. And it does it for the top. Now let's go ahead and get our sensors off. Our throttle position sensor is the one that will have to reset the ECU since we're going to remove it. But it's just one Phillips head. Set that screw aside. And bring it out. You can see how it's kind of keyed to a set on that TPS sensor. Not too bad. I'm not going to worry about removing the clip, the C-clip there. We'll leave that in there. That plastic bushing should be okay. And of course leaving your throttle linkage in place is fine. You can see how it actuates the butterfly valve down there. Alright, now that that's off, let's get the starting enrichment off. This looks just like a cover. Should just pop right off. There we go. Set that aside. Looks like PVC piping. Interesting. Alright, there's one Phillips head screw there. And I'm keeping my fingers on these just in case there's any springs or anything. just to make sure I don't lose them. Set that screw to the side. And this should pull straight out. May have a little resistance because I think it has an O-ring on there. Yeah. Okay. This stays on there, thankfully. I'm sure you could pry it off, but just leave it on there. And this guy should be, yeah, plunger style. Just check it for any wear, any noticeable abrasions. This one's kind of tore up looking. I may be replacing that sometime soon, but for now it'll have to do. Okay, we're almost there. Now let's go ahead and get the rest of this, what would you call this, what would that be called? Adapter from the carburetor to the intake. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get my flathead screwdriver and pry it back. There we go. And just walk it off. You know, just be careful what you pry against. Don't pry against any brass. Try to keep a finger on it just in case it goes flying. There we go. I got it over the first couple of barbs. Should. Nope. It still wants to fight. There we go. Okay. Once that's off of there, one thing you want to notice is it's got, it looks like keys that fit. One there. And back over here, which slides up in there. Take that off, set it aside. Now we've got one last piece, which is our pilot screw. Now there's a certain head that fits in there that I don't have, but I think, well, hold on, let me look for it. I'll be right back. Okay. Why you always want to have the proper tools. You can see this one has kind of a D shape. You know, here's a flat side over here and the rest of it is round. There is a special tool that fits in there to adjust this, to adjust it or remove it. What I basically had to do was take a small flathead and work it out. Not the best solution, and definitely one of the reasons why you want to have the proper tools, but you can see it kind of marred up the inside. I'm not too worried about this up here since the threads are okay. Now if you get lucky, which I did, which I was praying the whole time I was doing this, you should have three components to this. The let me see if I can get it off. The first one, or the bottom one, being the O-ring, which comes in your float bowl O-ring gasket kit. That tiny little guy right there. I'll set him down over here. An even smaller, oh, don't lose it, don't lose it, washer. Set it down. And an even smaller spring. And there you go. There's your pilot screw. We're going to go ahead and soak that and get that cleaned up. You can see some of the tarnish on there. Set that spring right there. Okay. Now, the easy part. We're going to soak this entire carburetor in the Chem Dip, which is barium and chem dip carburetor and parts cleaner right there. I'll set this guy over here, and it should have a basket in it. Let me open the can. This stuff does stink. I'll set it on the bottom side of the lid. And let's see if we can fit both the carburetor and the float ball. No, doesn't look like it can. Okay. So I'm going to see if these jets and the pilot screw are going to sink or float. If they sink, and we're going to get the jet needle too in there. If they sink, then I'll just keep them on the bottom. But if they float, I'll have to do them separately. No, good. Looks like they're going to sink. Okay. So we'll just go ahead and put the jets, pilot screw, and the jet needle in there. And then let's go ahead and take our float bowl, and let's take this gasket off. This thing is cruddy looking. I don't know if that's just dirt, old gas, or what. I don't know if you can see how flat that is. Pretty flat. So we'll just go ahead and discard that. Set our float bowl in there. Let's go ahead and just set our carburetor in there. I guess kind of like loading a dishwasher, right? Okay, there we go. Nothing else I want to put in there. So now we're going to set this guy. There, I'll get you a shot of it. So now we're just going to set this guy down in there. Close the lid up and let it marinate for about, I'm going to go ahead and give it about an hour. Let me say about 30 minutes or so. But we'll see how it does after an hour. I'll check back with you here in about 45 minutes, an hour, and we'll see how we're doing. See you in a bit. Alright, it's been about an hour, so let's take a look at the parts now.
Oh, no?
You can go inside if you want to.
Daddy, can you use your chair?
Yeah.
Thanks. I can't remember this one. That oil just comes off. That oil just comes off, Dad.
Okay, I'll fix it.
But you can't find it. You can't find it, Dad.
It's okay. Yeah, if you can tell, I've got my little helper with me. Okay, so let's take a look at these parts. I'm going to shake some of it off in the basket so there's not too much fluid.
Daddy,
Yeah, baby.
I'm thirsty.
we'll go inside, get something to drink.
I got it here.
As you can tell, nice and shiny. Looks like I got it pretty clean. I'm going to dump some of this back into the bucket. Did you get some dirt on you? It's okay.
No, it isn't.
Yeah, it's fine.
No, it isn't. I need my apple.
Alright. Got that finished up. Gonna dump the bowl out. Set this guy over to the side, and it looks like our jets came out pretty good. Actually, and we cleaned up pretty nice. I mean, that one's still got some tarnish on it, but I'm not too worried about it. More worried about the inside, making sure those got cleaned. Our pilot screw came out really nice. That looks really good. Let's see our main jet. Main jet looks good. I'll grab that for you so you can see it. Main jet looks really good. I can see daylight through it. And then our main jet cap. Can't see anything through that. Huh. Alright. So let me put this bucket back in. Close up the smelly Chem dip. This stuff stinks. It's kind of stink that you taste. Sorry about the bouncing around, guys. Alright. I'm filming fixing the carburetor, cleaning it.
Oh, but that's not a good idea.
It's not?
No.
Why?
Because it's very yucky.
Alright.
And this is oil.
Alright, so now what you need to do after you clean it in the Chem dip is just wash it. And I've got a little bucket of water that I'm going to use. And clean each one of these parts off with the water, and then I'll use some compressed air to blow it out to blow dry them, and also blow out the different passages. I'll point out which passages we need to blow out. Alright, I'll be back with you after I wash these. I'm also going to take, let me see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. I'm also going to take a little nylon brush. You can use a toothbrush if you got it, to help kind of scrub the parts. Nothing too abrasive because these are brass pieces, but I'll be right back when I get those cleaned up. Alright, I've washed the parts off, our jets, needle jet, and then down here a little pilot screw. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take each part and blow it out with air, blowing specifically anywhere the fuel and air passages are, just to clear out any debris or any water in there, and just generally blow all around it, just get the water off and whatnot. So I'll be right back with you when I finish blowing these out with air. Alright, got it all cleaned out, blew out all the passages, you know, for the fuel in the air, mixtures coming around to different ports, blowing that out with air. Down there with that little guy down there with air. And let's see where else. I hit the pilot screw with some air, and then just generally drying it off, making sure there's no water residue left on it. So now all we need to do is just reassemble it. Let's go ahead and start with the float, and what we'll do is we'll go ahead and put in the needle jet here. This one goes right down just like this, straight down. Okay. Make sure that's seated, because that's where the jet needle from the top slides and rides in there. And then we'll take our needle jet cap, I guess you could say. Screw that guy in. There we go. And you don't have to kill these when you're screwing them back in. One thing I did when I blew out these jets was, I don't know how well, each one of them has a pin-size hole in them. I don't think you're going to be able to see, but you should be able to see daylight through them. Yeah, there you go. Should be able to see daylight. Same thing with the needle jet that I put down in there. So screw that in. And then when you're tightening these, you don't have to kill it. Just get it snug. Remember, it's brass. Now let's go ahead and do the slow jet. And same thing here. Yeah, it's going to be impossible for you to see on the camera, but you should see daylight through it. We'll try. Nah. Trust me, I can see it. So we'll go ahead and just slide that down in there. Try to start it by hand. A couple of threads anyways, because you do not want to cross thread these. Take your screwdriver and just run it down. Again, this does not have to be, you don't have to kill it when you're tightening it. Just get it snug. And that takes care of the, I call it the main jet, the needle jet and the slow jet. Let's go ahead and put our float assembly back on. I'm going to use the new float and the new float pin. So let's get the float needle right here, float valve. And the way this goes in, on the back side of the float, you have these grooves here. Just got to lodge it in there like that. Try not to tip it up. Okay. And then you want to get the float needle right down in that port, right in the middle. Okay. And then slide your float pin in. And just being a little retentive on the way the base of the float valve is sitting in there. But there you go. Okay. Now, let's take our new float bowl gasket and put it on here. Just make sure it's seated in the groove. And about the easiest way to do this is to flip your carburetor upside down and set it down in there. There you go. Now you can flip it upside down and put your screws in. Should be 3 of them. I'm just going to run these down. I'm not going to start to tighten them because I want to try to get compression on that gasket even all the way around before I hand tighten them. There we go. And again, you don't have to kill these screws, just snug them. Okay. Now for the float bowl, I waited to put this on so that I could take the drain screw out. We're going to replace that O-ring in there. And if you notice, I did leave this screw in when I had it in the cleaning solution because I knew I was going to replace that O-ring. If you're not going to replace the O-ring, go ahead and take this out before you put it in your cleaning solution because that solution will chew that rubber up. But let's just unscrew this guy. Okay. Well, I'm not too worried about varnish or anything on this since it's just a drain screw. Now you can either try to cut this off or take a little pick and just pop this guy off and it comes right out. There you go. Go ahead and discard that, grab your new one, and this is the trick. I'll put it on my pick first, just like this, and I'll grab one side of the, yeah, my gloves are getting in the way. Alright, hold on. Okay. I'll grab one side of the O-ring, hold it over on the drain screw, and then try to fight it on there with my pick. Just kind of roll it. The important thing is just keep a hold of it because it's like a miniature rubber band, and once it flings somewhere, it's gone. Okay, so now once that's on there, let's go ahead and put this back in. I'm going to start the threads by hand. And same thing with this one, don't kill it, you know, just snug it down. Okay. And that takes care of our lower half. So let's go ahead and knock out this top half where jet needle goes. So what we're going to want to do is take our jet needle, nice and shiny. We're going to want to drop it down in those hole, that center hole down there. Which might be easier said than done. You know what I need is a pair of tweezers. Alright, pick's gonna have to do. And it keeps falling into these holes. Okay. Knock your carburetor over for good measure. There we go. Alright, I got it in there. Center hole. So now, what we need to do is apply our little, can you see that? Yeah, a little jet needle holder. Spring side goes down in there, and if you notice, there's little tabs down in there. Let's see if I can draw you a picture of how this is going to work. It's going to go straight down in like that with the spring on the bottom. And I'm going to get a pen and piece of paper. Kind of show you what the inside looks like. Okay. So we've got our inside, and then there will be, let's see, the needle jet hole, and then you'll have two breather holes, and then kind of like a tab that sticks out on all three sides. And what you want this to do is to go down in there where these tabs fit in between these little cutouts. Then once it's down in there, you're going to twist it to lock it. I don't know how well that's showing up. And in that way, it can move up and down. Hopefully that diagram helped. Alright. So I'm going to drop this guy down in there. Get it set up to where I can get my screwdriver on it. Okay. Now, let me find... Sorry, I'm going to have to do this off camera. It's kind of hard to get a shot of this. Get it, once you have it seated, these two lower passages right here should be clear. You should be able to see through them. There we go. Jet needle is in place. It's got some good play. Now all we have to do is just drop it in and put the top back on. You want to line up your diaphragm. There we go. And go ahead and push the diaphragm down. Okay. There we go. Okay, now we can put our top back on. Whoa. Okay. You don't have to kill these, just get them snug. You know what I missed? The spring. You need that in there. So let's take it back out. And mistakes happen. At least I caught it before I installed it, right? Alright, sorry about that. Camera battery died. Alright, we're going to put the spring into the jet needle, which I completely forgot. Goes in the top here. Okay. Now we can throw the cover on the ground just for good measure. Let's go ahead and put this back on. There's a little nipple here that goes in the top of the spring. Good. And I'm just running them down just a little bit, and then I'll snug both of them. There we go. You don't have to kill these, just snug it down. Okay. Now let's put in our pilot screw. And I'll show you what I did for that guy. I took my Dremel and cut out a little flathead size so that I could put my flathead screwdriver in there and get a better idea of how far to go down and back it off. What you want to do for these is for the pilot screw, I believe, run it down just to where it starts to crush that washer, and then for the 2002 to 2005 models, you want to back it off 2 3/4 turn, and then from there we can adjust our idle via the idle screw. So let's go ahead and assemble it. The spring goes on first. Then the tiny washer, and then our new O-ring will set right on top of there. Oh crap, that's the old one, sorry. Let's go ahead and grab our new one, set it right on top of there, and we'll go ahead and take it and screw it down as far as we can. Okay. Do it in a way that, now, I can't really, my hands are in the way, but I'm going to screw it down. Crap, sorry guys. I'm going to screw it down just until I feel it bottom out. Okay, I felt it bottom out right there. So now I'm going to back it out 2 3/4 turn. So there's 1, 2, 2 1/2, and 2 3/4 right there. Now from here, and this is only for 02 to 05. I believe for 05 and later, let me look. I've got my service manual here. Let me get the 05 and up procedures. Let's see. Oh yeah, crap. Yeah, it looks like it's pretty close. I mean, you've got to. Well, no, it's not. Screw it down to fill it bottom out. Then take for 05 and above, take it out 2 1/4 turns. And then you want to warm up the engine, stop the engine and connect a tachometer. You want your idle speeds to be 2,000, give or take 100 RPM. And that's pretty much the same procedure for the 02 to 05. I don't have a tachometer or a timing light, but I'll get a hold of one and I'll do another video on setting the idle. But I can guess it just where it doesn't die. So, okay, there we go. That's on there. Now let's put our throttle position sensor on. Okay. What you want to do here is, you see it's keyed. You want to set it down on there. Okay. Now we can push it over and install our screw. Where did the screwdriver go? Okay. Now you don't want to kill this, you just want to snug it down. Okay. Looks good. Okay. Alright. Let's go ahead and put our SE valve, or what is it, starting enrichment valve, back on. This guy goes right here. Just gotta align that needle down into its little crevice. And make sure you angle this out to about, let's see, what would that be, about 7, 8 o'clock from your air intake. And then you'll want to push it down to seat it. Okay. Then line your retainer clip up. And let's go ahead and put our screw back in. You don't have to kill it, just get it snug. And let's put our cover back on. And that just slides right over it. And now, let's go ahead and put our adapter on. And the adapter, the 2 tongs go towards the engine. And then the 2 wider tongs go towards the carburetor. And this upper tongue, we want to go on the left side of this bar. So let's line that up. and just walk it on there. Takes a little bit of muscle. There we go. You can see right there we've got the almost touching, and right in there. Alright, you can see how I've got it lined up now. A little tab in there, and back here on the back side. So now the only thing left to do, let's go ahead and reinstall this. I'll get it reinstalled. Just make sure when you install it, put your fuel line on, your 2 coolant lines right there, and then your breather hose. And I'll be right back with you and show you how to reset the ECU, ECM, I forget what Honda calls it, since we removed the throttle position sensor. Be back with you here in a minute. Alright, once you've got it all back together, which it's not very difficult, you can reset the ECM or ECU by attaching a lead wire to your little blue and white guy over here, and then with the lead wire, let me see if I can do this with one hand. You're going to touch it to the positive, and then while it's still on the positive, you're going to come over here. Oh, this is hard to film. You're going to flip your key to on. When you do, your headlight's going to come on, then you remove the lead wire from the positive terminal. And then when the light will go off, then when it comes on again, the ECU is done rewriting the data. Flip the key to off, and that's it. Button the rest of it back up, and try to start it. Right now I'm going to, since it's sat for a while, I'm going to go ahead and take the spark plug out and clean it and check the oil and whatnot. But if you have any questions or comments, definitely post them. Saw something I could have done different, definitely let me know. But that's how you clean the carburetor on a Metropolitan. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope it answered some questions out there, but definitely, like I said in the beginning of the video, check out my friend's video. I'll post a link to it in the comments below, and be safe out there.